They'll tell you to just be honest, to open up, to be transparent, vulnerable, authentic. But what they never tell you is this: the moment you start revealing your inner world without restraint, someone somewhere is watching and calculating. And Machiavelli would have known exactly what they're calculating. Your weaknesses, your tells, your leverage points. Because in the realm of power, the worst moves aren't the ones you make with bad intent. The most devastating ones are the honest mistakes. The ones you made in good faith with an open heart. The ones you thought made you look real, but instead, they made you look available, predictable, and weak. That's the paradox Machiavelli would slice open without mercy. He understood something most people never will. Your enemy's greatest advantage is your illusion of safety, and that illusion is strongest when you're being honest. Let's unravel the first mistake, because it's the most common, the most praised, and yet the damn most silently exploited. Over-disclosing your setbacks and struggles. The modern world has glorified vulnerability. Social media tells you to talk about your pain. Leaders are told to share their failures to be more relatable. You're rewarded with comments, claps, and approval when you open up about what you've survived. But Machiavelli would have raised an eyebrow, because he knew when you show people how you bleed, you train them where to stab. This isn't about shame. This is about control. It's not that you can't talk about pain. It's when and how you do it. The honest mistake is assuming that every ear listening to you is a light, sympathetic one. That just because you're being authentic, people will respect your truth. But power doesn't work that way. Power doesn't grow in confession. It grows in ambiguity. When you reveal your inner chaos to the wrong audience, co-workers, acquaintances, even friends who haven't earned your depth, you do two things. You shatter your mystique. You hand others ammunition subtly, invisibly, but permanently, because people don't forget what you've confessed. They store it. And the next time your confidence rises, they know exactly what narrative to whisper behind your back to keep you small. Machiavelli would handle vulnerability the same way he'd handle state secrets. Strategically, surgically, with timing. You reveal your pain only after you've conquered it, not while you're still bleeding. Because in power dynamics, unresolved pain is not intimacy, it's exposure. You want respect? Tell them how you survived, not how you're still suffering. Now let's move to the second mistake. One so deceptive most people think it's a virtue. Assuming others value fairness as much as you do. You try to play fair, you compromise, you extend the benefit of the doubt. You believe that if you show good faith, others will meet you halfway. That's noble. It's also naive, because Machiavelli would say this: you're projecting your moral code onto people who are playing a completely different game. The honest mistake here is thinking fairness is universal, that decency is contagious, that your enemies will feel guilt, shame, or obligation simply because you're being the bigger person. But the cold truth: many people interpret fairness not as strength but as submission. They watch you yield and they think, he won't fight, she'll fold if I press hard enough. They want peace more than they want power, and in that one moment you've made yourself manipulable. Machiavelli didn't hate fairness. He just understood its limits. He knew when to negotiate and when to exploit. He didn't give what wasn't earned, and he never assumed goodwill unless it had been proven with action, over time under pressure. So here's how you fix it. You stop leading with fairness. You lead with observation. You don't offer compromise first. You let them reveal their hand. You make them show what kind of player they are. And only when you understand the game they're playing do you decide whether they deserve your principles or your strategy. This doesn't make you cold. It makes you exact. Because Machiavelli's golden rule was never be fair. It was this: know what game you're in and know who's sitting across the table. And now, the third honest mistake, the one that doesn't just weaken you, it trains your enemies how to control you, responding chenille emotionally to subtle provocation. You're not exploding. You're not lashing out. But every time someone disrespects, you slightly, covertly, you show your reaction. A stiff posture, a tightened jaw, a defensiveness in your voice. You explain yourself. You over-clarify. You prove them wrong. It feels natural. After all, you're just being honest about how you feel. But in Machiavellian terms, you've just given up power because you've shown they can move you. You've revealed your sensitivity, vector, the exact part of you they can poke to get a rise. And when you're dealing with someone who's even slightly predatory in mindset, you've now made yourself predictable. Machiavelli would teach you to develop a mask, not because you're hiding your emotions, but because you're weaponizing them. He believed in control, not repression. You don't deny your feelings, you delay their exposure. So when someone tries to rattle you, your response is not a rebuttal. It's a pause, a silence, a slow blink, a faint smirk. Not because you're above it, but because you want them to wonder whether they've even affected you at all. In silence, you gain time. In time, you gain control. And in control, you turn the emotional game into a psychological battlefield, one you dominate because you know exactly what they want from you, and you refuse to give it. So here's the final takeaway from all three of these mistakes. You don't lose power through malice. You lose it through good. Intentions made visible to the wrong eyes. Through honesty without discernment. Through decency given without demand. Machiavelli wouldn't tell you to lie. He'd tell you to choose who gets your truth and when and how. Because in this world, power is not taken by the cruel. It's taken by the precise. And those who think their honesty protects them are usually the first ones to be disarmed with their own words. It's a dangerous thing to assume. The world rewards sincerity, that speaking openly, feeling deeply, or playing clean will somehow build you immunity. But Machiavelli understood something far more brutal and far more accurate. The world doesn't reward sincerity, it studies it. It observes where you're soft. It measures how you react. It tests how much truth you leak without asking whether the audience deserves it. Because the more you lead with openness, the more others can map your emotional terrain. And the second they understand your layout, your story, what your instincts, you're no longer mysterious. You're no longer dangerous. You're familiar. And familiarity breeds dismissal. That's why Machiavelli warned, not against enemies who attack with chisel knives, but enemies who listen patiently. Enemies who nod while you explain, who wait for you to over-justify, who allow you to keep talking just long enough for your own words to become the tool of your undoing. So let's dive deeper into how those honest mistakes multiply and how they silently flip the power dynamic before you even know it's happened. The first layer of that is something most people have never even been taught to guard: your language of self-doubt. This manifests in little disclaimers like, I'm probably wrong, but, or this might sound dumb, but, or I don't really know much. I just think these seem harmless, even polite. But to a Machiavellian mind, these are the phrases of someone who has not yet claimed their right to authority. And if you're speaking like that in a room full of sharks, you're done. before you start, because each one of those disclaimers sends the same subconscious signal. You don't need to take me seriously. It doesn't matter how brilliant the content of your message is. If you package it in self-erasure, the room will follow your cue. This is what Machiavelli meant when he wrote, "Men judge more by the eye than by the hand, for all can see, but few can feel." Translation: people won't analyze the depth of your insight. They'll feel your self-doubt and mirror it back at you. So here's the fix. You kill the preamble. You say what you mean with crispness, not arrogance. Conviction. You let your ideas stand without apology. And when someone challenges them, you don't get flustered. You don't over-defend. You ask questions instead, such as, "What makes you say that?" Or, "Interesting. What would you propose?" instead. Or, "Let's test both ideas and see what wins." Suddenly, you flipped the frame. You're no longer the one trying to justify yourself. You've made them articulate their thoughts clearly, and that alone elevates you above the average. That's Machiavellian precision, not brute force controlled framing. But now, let's take it a step further. The second level of the same mistake is even more invisible because it comes disguised as self-awareness. You openly admit your flaws, not because you're being pressured, but because you think it makes you seem grounded. "I know I talk too much. I tend to overthink everything. I'm not the best with people." You think you're owning your shadows, and maybe you are, but in the wrong hands. You're feeding your enemies the exact script they'll use to discredit you later, because now all they have to do is quote you. "She even said she's not great with people, so I don't think this role suits her." He admitted he gets defensive under pressure, so I wouldn't trust him in high-stakes conversations. They said they always overthink things, so maybe they're not confident enough for this opportunity. You handed them the blade. They just waited for the moment to use it. Machiavelli would never deny his weaknesses. He'd just make damn sure no one else could narrate them better than he could. So instead of publicly labeling yourself, you reframe "I" everything. For instance, instead of "I overthink," you say, "I like to examine things thoroughly before acting." Instead of "I'm not great with people," you say "I'm selective with who I invest energy into." And instead of "I'm too sensitive," you say "I'm finely tuned to emotional nuance. Sometimes I feel more than others would." This isn't spin. This is self-narrative weaponized. It's understanding that language is a battlefield, and if you don't define yourself, someone else will. And finally, let's expose the deadliest version of the honest mistake: being dead emotionally legible in hostile environments. You're in a meeting. You're being subtly undermined. Someone makes a joke that lands a little too close to the bone, and you feel it. You feel the heat rise in your face, the sharpness in your chest, the need to defend yourself. So you speak faster or louder, or you check out emotionally. Either way, the room sees it, and worst, the person who triggered it sees it. Worked. Machiavelli's warning here would be yoked, brutal but necessary. If they can read you, they can run you. You become a puppet whose strings are emotional tells, and the cruelest part, they won't just use it against you in that moment. They'll save it for the exact time it costs you most. So, what's the strategy? You become deliberately unreadable. You just let the tension pass through you like smoke. You listen with stillness. You delay your reaction, not to bottle it up, but to maintain control over when and how it gets expressed. You don't get colder, you get slower, more intentional, more observant. Because in a world obsessed with reaction, the one who delays becomes feared. That's Machiavelli's method. Not hiding, not shrinking, but disciplining your openness so that every word, every emotion, every vulnerability becomes a move, not a leak. Because the truth isn't your enemy, but undisciplined honesty. That's how you hand your power, to someone who's been waiting for just that moment to turn you into their next easy conquest. There's a certain kind of silence that makes the room lean in. It's not fear, not aggression. It's uncertainty, a sense that no one can quite read you, yet everyone feels they should be paying closer attention. That's the energy Machiavelli mastered, not by being dishonest, but by being deliberately unreadable. And if you want power in a world obsessed with transparency, you don't give it all away. In the name of being real, you learn to protect the parts of you that others would love to understand, just enough to exploit. That's the battlefield most people don't even realize they're standing on. One where visibility is vulnerability, and the enemy doesn't need weapons. They just need data. The things you confess under the illusion of honesty. The way your face changes when you're challenged. The words you use when you're unsure, exposed, or trying small to win them over. It's not the liar who gets destroyed. It's the person who was too genuine in the wrong context. Let's pull back the curtain on another way this plays out. One of the most seductive mistakes of all, over-explaining your intentions. You do something bold. You take a risk. You make a choice that rattles people, and immediately you feel the need to clarify with statements like, "I didn't mean it like that," or "I was just trying to help," or "I only said that because I care." You think you're preserving your image, but Machiavelli would say you're erasing your authority. Because here's the Machiavellian law. He who explains too much signals guilt, and guilt gives your enemies a story to run with. Even if your motives were clean once you're on the defensive, you flip the power dynamic. You're no longer the one acting. You're the one reacting. You've placed your actions on trial, and they didn't even ask for that trial to begin with. Machiavelli would never waste time proving his innocence to those who've already made up their mind. He would say, perception is a lever. Never hand that lever to anyone else by trying to fix how they see you. So what's the alternative? Let your actions stand, unedited. Let people sit with their interpretation. If someone takes offense, at your boundaries, you let them. If someone misreads your confidence as arrogance, you don't dilute it to make them feel better. If they ask why you're being distant, you answer with presence, not apology. I've just started moving differently. No more, no less. And if someone challenges your decision, say, I didn't make it to be understood. I made it because it was necessary. You anchor yourself deeper in your frame instead of collapsing into theirs. That's not cruelty. That's psychological warfare conducted with elegance. Now, let's get into the second major mistake people make under the illusion of good intention. Giving access too quickly. You meet someone who seems genuine. Their energy is warm. They listen. They nod. And before you know it, you're telling them things about your dreams, your fears, your past, your plans. You've let them in, but you haven't tested them. And that right there is the exact moment Machiavelli would say you've been compromised. Because access is not neutral. It's an investment. And when you give it away freely, people don't see it as generosity. They see it as lack of discernment. They think, if I can get in this easily, who else is in here? They don't feel special. They feel strategic. They feel like they've been handed the blueprints to your emotional vault without earning the key. Machiavelli's method: test first, reveal later. He would observe patterns, not promises. He would leak small pieces of himself deliberately, not to bond, but to measure. If someone ran with that information, misused it, repeated it, he'd know they were unworthy. If they handled it with care and confidentiality, then the gate might inch open. That's the calibration. Never confuse warmth for loyalty. Loyalty isn't how someone treats you when you're present. It's how they protect your name when you're not. And finally, the third mistake, arguably the most honest, the most human, and the most dangerous. Trusting people too quickly simply because they've shown you their pain. They tell you a dark story. They open up about their trauma, their family, their fears, their failures. And in that moment, you feel something click. They've been through hell. They must be real. They must understand you. But Yamart, here's what Machiavelli would whisper in your ear. Pain doesn't make people noble. It just makes them experienced. And experience is a tool that can cut in any direction. The honest mistake here is confusing depth with safety. Just because someone has suffered doesn't mean they won't turn their suffering into strategy. Just because someone shows you their scars doesn't mean they won't make new ones. In fact, sometimes the most dangerous individuals are those who've learned how to use vulnerability as camouflage. They know what it looks like to be broken. They know what to say to gain sympathy. They know how to position themselves as misunderstood so that you let your guard down first. Machiavelli would never dismiss suffering. He'd simply advise this. Never lower your defenses for anyone who hasn't first shown you how they protect others. Watch how they speak about people who are no longer useful to them. Watch how they respond when you disagree. Watch how they move when they think no one's watching. That's where the real character shows. Because power isn't about seeing people's intentions. It's about seeing through them. And if you allow yourself to be swayed by beautiful vulnerability without first vetting the architecture beneath it, you're not being empathetic. You're being marked. The warning is clear. Your kindness, your clarity, your realness, these are strengths. But if they're unguarded, they don't make you more human. They make you a better target. And in a world ruled by perception, silence, and strategy, Machiavelli would remind you of one final truth. Never confuse openness with strength. The strongest fortresses are the ones no one realizes they've never entered. There's a reason kings build walls, not just to keep enemies out, but to force everyone who approaches to reveal their intentions first. Machiavelli believed in walls, not physical ones, psychological ones. Walls made of silence, of ambiguity, of unanswered questions. Because once people believe they know you, they stop respecting you. They start assuming, predicting, manipulating, and they begin to move against you, not out of malice, but because you've made yourself navigable. And that is the core tragedy of these three honest mistakes. They feel human, noble, real, but they are tactical suicides in a world where people don't attack you with swords. They do it with interpretations. So now the question becomes, how do you correct all of this without becoming cynical, robotic, or emotionally dead? You build what Machiavelli would call a strategic self. You stop treating honesty as a reflex and start using it as a calibrated weapon. You still tell the truth, but not all of it. You still connect, but you measure who and how fast. You still feel deeply, but you choose when those feelings get exposed and when they remain contained. That's the art of true power, not the absence of emotion, but in the placement of it. Let's put this into action. You're in a situation where someone tries to get personal. They're opening up. They want to create a fast bond. They're asking questions that go a little too deep. a little too early. The average person answers honestly, out of politeness, out of social script, but the Machiavellian individual understands. Intimacy is not the same as trust. So, instead of reciprocating fully, you give them a controlled truth, something shallow that sounds sincere, a piece of information that reveals nothing strategic about you. I'm terrible at remembering names. I grew up moving around a lot. I can never seem to finish a series I start watching. These are not lies, but they are non-committal truths. They fulfill the social expectation while keeping your true vulnerabilities sheathed. Why does this matter? Because the one who reveals least maintains the most control. Mystery isn't just attractive, it's protective. When others can't tell how you're built, they can't calculate where to press. Now let's say you're in a room where someone disrespects you in subtle ways, cutting you off mid-sentence, dismissing your points with a joke, or giving backhanded praise like you've really improved a lot lately, as if you were previously beneath them. The honest instinct call it out. The Machiavellian instinct reframe without retaliation. You look them in the eye, you smile faintly, and you say, "Funny? I found people only talk like that when they're feeling slightly off balance." You didn't accuse, you didn't get emotional, but the room feels the shift, and the person who came to undermine you now has to wonder what you know that they don't. That's psychological control, not by force, but by uneven clarity. You become unpredictable, not chaotic, but measured. And unpredictability creates hesitation, and hesitation in any power dynamic is a form of submission. Here's another scenario. Someone tries to draw you into drama. They share gossip. They want your take. They pretend it's just venting. But what they're really doing is testing your alignment. Do you take the bait? Do you confess how you really feel about someone? Do you say something they can later repeat? Machiavelli's move is to respond with a question. Always a question like, "That's interesting. What do you think their real goal is?" Or, "I wonder how many people they act like that with and how many just let it slide." Suddenly, you've shifted the spotlight. You're not the one providing ammo, you're extracting it. And in doing so, you become informationally dominant. Because here's the silent rule Machiavelli lived by. He who knows the most and says the least holds the longest power. This doesn't mean you stop trusting anyone. It means you train yourself to withhold trust until it's earned. You stop assuming others share your moral compass. You stop believing people are what they present. You stop thinking intentions matter more than patterns. And most of all, you stop treating your truth as free. Your truth is expensive. It's earned. It should cost people something to receive it. Time, consistency, observation, not a nice smile and a well-timed story. And when you operate like this, when you reserve your emotional currency, you do something few people ever manage. You create scarcity around your inner world. And where there is scarcity, there is value. Where there is value, there is respect. And where there is respect, true respect, power follows. That's what Machiavelli would want you to understand. You don't have to be fake. You don't have to be cruel. You just have to stop being free. Free with your words, free with your reactions, free with your access. Because the moment you stop making those honest mistakes, you become something more than respected. You become unreadable, unshakable, untouchable, and your enemies, they'll still try. But now they'll be playing a game they can't win because the player across the table has stopped giving them the pieces.